edition episode of On the Grill with Shane Darwin and myself, Ashley Borg. Still waiting on Corey Hopper, but we're going to get moving as we're live and on YouTube at 6 p.m. How's your week been, Shane? I'm so ready for the finals, mate. So keen. It's just hit us all of a sudden, and I just can't wait, man. I can't wait for tomorrow.
I just don't know if it's too good to be true. Actually, we've had sunshine all week, and we've got finals this weekend. I mean, it's the dream. It's the dream week, isn't it? I'm very excited. I love finals. There's been that little bit of warmth in the air. It feels as though we're heading towards spring. And I suppose the only question I had unanswered from this week was, did Sheriff Woody get onto you during the week after you gave him a bit of a sledge last Saturday? But you made it through the week all right, so it can't have been too bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, and I stuck up a post during a week of the clip when I clipped on Woody, and he loved it. I think he appreciated the humour, mate. So I'll say this to everybody: I'm keen. I'm happy if you criticise. I'm happy if you love the work we do. We're just here to do what we do for the competition that we love. And now, if you don't take it personal, that's what we're on about, mate. It's just how we are. That's how we are, and it's just what we think on the day. We don't think anything of anyone personally. I think actually everyone in the comp's fantastic. So it's just how we call a game as it progresses through the day. And I know Jack took it in the spirit it was intended, and he kicked the goal. He'd stick it right up me as well.
And speaking of doing a bit for the league, how's young Ollie Croft? Have you caught some of his recent podcasts on the 2NUR? He's had some great stuff come out in the last couple of weeks. We've had Amy Pittman, Billy Barton, The Big Dig. They've all dropped over the last week or so. I don't know. I know we spoke about Amy, I think, on last week or the week before, but The Big Dig and Billy Barton have been out as well since then. It's a really good listen, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I don't get a lot of chance to do much outside of work at the moment, the way things are at my workplace. But I can tell you now, Ollie is going places in a hurry. We've just been cannon fodder and a little bit of a stepping stone along the way to his success. And I reckon it's great to be able to have been a part of that, a very, very small part of that. And when he's famous and on Fox Footy or wherever he decides to go, I think it'd be just tremendous to have said, I worked with that guy.
Yeah, that's right. And for those of you that haven't listened to the Big Dig one yet, get on there and have a listen to Mark Dignam and have a chat to him. The interesting fact I took out of that one was that his nickname was Grimace because he loved wearing the purple jumper at training before he moved up here. So there you go. Before he was the Big Dig, he was Grimace.
Magnificent. And cheerio to you, Grimace, and good luck tomorrow at Fagan Oval. We'll just go through the review. We're going to go through and do a review of the Women's Cup and then a bit of a season that was for the team that didn't make the finals this year in Singleton, and do the same with the Men's Cup. Go through a bit of a season debrief of the four sides that were unfortunate enough to not make finals, and we'll rip into the previews of the first round of the final series in the AFL Hunter Central Coast. So for round 17 for the Women's Cup, the Terrigal Avoca Newcastle City game was cancelled. Unfortunately for us, we were going up there to do our double header, but in the end, I think common sense prevailed. Both sides can make finals. Ground's a little bit tacky. Don't risk an injury. I think both sides did what they should. Newcastle City have gone through as minor premiers, and with Cardiff having the bye the week of that round 17, they were unable to catch Newcastle City. So I think, Shane, on the whole, I think a common sense approach from both clubs, and I applaud that.
Agreed. Yeah, save yourself in those, as you said, tacky conditions, and just get yourself ready for this week. Both those teams playing finals. Good call was made.
Yep, absolutely. And the other two games that were played, Killarney Vale 22-12-144 gave the entrance Bateau Bay a last match to forget, defeating them by 136 points. Mia Wilson kicked 7 goals in the final game and won the goal kicking for the Women's Cup for, I believe, the second time in her career. Only 19 years old, I believe, Mia. 55 goals for the year. Congratulations to her. Jackie Green with 3, Taya White with 3. Killarney Vale class all over the park, and they'll be looking forward to this elimination final on Saturday on Bar TV.
Yeah, listen, if Mia Wilson sticks around in this league for another 10 years, she might win another 10 medals. And it'll be called the Mia Wilson goal kicking trophy at some stage, I'm sure. Like, she's an absolute dynamo, and well done, Mia. And well done to the Bombers for nailing a win heading into finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And Singleton, well, they missed out on the finals this year, but it wasn't through a lack of trying. They won their last game of the year. They had to win it by 55 points or more, was what I was told by the club during the week last week, but they only managed to beat the Warners Bay side by 7 points. They were behind at quarter time, Shane, but then they kicked 4-2 across the match to win it by 7 points. Casey Muller kicked 3 goals for the winners, and Maddie Mueller kicked 2 goals for Warners Bay. Must be something about the Mueller-Muller combination there. It's a great way to finish the year for Singleton, but at the end of the day, they didn't get enough wins to make the finals, and they'd be disappointed with that, I'd say.
Yeah, with 3 rounds to go, they had 1 win under their belt, and then they won 2 of the last 3. So sort of came good at the wrong time of the year, so to speak. So yeah, but listen, they'll rebuild for 2026 for sure. Yeah, they had a few injuries up there as well, which didn't help. Yeah, if they can get a good team out on the park, yeah, they'll be back again. I'm sure they've got a lot of fighting spirit, the Roosterettes. I love the way they play, and I love watching them play, and looking forward to seeing them again next year.
And one thing I will say, I'm not sure if any Singleton people watch the telecast. I hope they do at some point, but I hope Jackson Channon gets re-given the opportunity to coach that team. He's been really good with them for the last 2 years. He's a steady hand. The girls respect him and they like him. He works with them really well. He treats them with the respect and dignity they deserve, and he teaches them steadily across the match. They've got an under-17s nucleus that we've talked about across this show and on Bar TV enough times for me not to have to keep going with it. But if they keep some of them, and they've got them, and they can keep developing as footballers, and now they've got that year with a hardened body, I suppose, playing senior women's football, next year could be an anything season for Singleton if they can get it right.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, I mean, I say it's a shame, but it's fantastic that someone like Molly Thomas will go down to Sydney, all things being equal. As you had a chat with her a couple of weeks back on the broadcast with Bar TV. You know, she'll go down and play in AFL Sydney at the lowest level. You'd suggest, and maybe the sky's the limit for her. Yeah, it's a shame they lose someone like that, but they've got the Radmarker girls and a good nucleus of a team there. And yeah, as you say, the coaching's been really good given what players he's had to work with, and you can see he's really bought into the success. And we saw after that entrance Baddo Bay game, he was the first one to be dipping over the bar and putting his hand in the pocket to give the Earls a bit of a celebratory drink and whatever else after that win. So yeah, here's to hoping for a positive 2026.
Yeah, fabulous. And good luck to Singleton over the pre-season. For the Men's Cup Round 17, a real shame that first game, Warners Bay and Nelson Bay were cancelled, but as a result, Warners Bay won the minor premiership without having to step on the field, Shane.
Yeah, I don't know whether Warners Bay of the football clubs, walked under a ladder or, whatever else with a black cap, because they just feel as though they're the ones that are copping a bit of the rough end of the stick on the washouts and whatever else. So only played once out of the last 4 weeks. And I think someone said it'll be 2 out of the last 9 by the time they get through to tomorrow. So unfortunately, not a lot of footy at the right time of year for Warners Bay, but absolutely, well deserved in that first minor flag for many a year. I think it was 95 or 99 or something since they last won a minor flag. The job's not done for them yet. We're still going to see them playing tomorrow, and hopefully not next week. They might go straight through to the granny if they get a good result tomorrow. But there's at least a couple of games left of Warners Bay, and they'll be really keen to find that form back again and make it count. So well done to them, and just a shame that game was called off.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I'm wrapped for Nathan and the boys. I think they deserve at least top 2. They've been one of the premier sides all season. They've worked so hard. And Nathan Harkness, the coach, I mean, hats off to him. He's done great things with the club in his last 2 or 3 years. And I'm really glad. And we looked at a bit of a thing over our chat, Shane. They released an ad 1 year ago today looking for another coach. Dare they look anywhere else? Because Nathan Harkness is the man for the job. And he proved it over his last 12 months. And he's got 2 or 3 weeks to go to just cap it off. So
that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could have been a completely different result if they hadn't reappointed him as quickly as they did. I was a little bit nervous last year when they put that post out. Good to see it's all worked out well, and it's good for the club. And they've got a minor flag, and they're not done yet.
Absolutely. So Maitland versus Cardiff. Cardiff 16-8-104 defeated Maitland 9-12-66. For the winners, Luca Conlon, Braden Hawkins, Jake Sullivan, and Owen Trickey in his second game of first grade football, all kicking 2 goals each. For Maitland, well, wouldn't they have used this man throughout the season if he could stay injury-free? Rylan Hoffman kicked 4 goals out of 9 in a losing team, and Riley Newstead, who has to almost be the odds-on favourite for Maitland's best and fairest this year from what I've heard during the year, kicked 2. It's just been a story of the season for those two sides. If we quickly sum them up, Cardiff, showed some promise when they beat Killarney Vale in round one. They faced the big three, though, Shane, in rounds 2, 3, and 4 and got beaten quite handsomely across the board. Beat Maitland round 5, shook Newcastle City up in round 8, beat the Panthers in one of the upsets of the year in round 9. And I remember talking with Chop and yourself, and I remember succinctly, Corey said, they're back.
Yep.
And then, unfortunately, we had them on Bar TV round 11 against Nelson Bay, and they got beat. And from that loss, they didn't win again until they faced the entrants Bateau Bay and Maitland in round 16, 17. Look, at the end of the day, Chris Gordon knows that his side haven't performed to the standard required and didn't make finals as a result. Lachlan Manning, Finton Tricky, and Oscar Smythe would have to be probably 3 players close to their best and fairest this year. Finton Tricky's been a revelation in his first real season of first grade. They've got the nucleus there with, Jamison Bufler, Jake Sullivan, Braden Hawkins, and the Bonham brothers. Has it been a year of underperformance, Shane, or is it a year of learning? What do you reckon?
Oh, listen, it's a year of underperformance for my mind, but I think based on circumstances, obviously the loss of Danny Priest over the off-season has a huge effect on a flow-on effect on the club. Now, listen, he wasn't going to be back coaching this year, but the way he passed was obviously shocking for the club. And then you lose, Max King down to Sydney, and over the Sandful, I've completely lost his name. That's it. You go away for a year, and I forget your name. That's
McNamara.
No, it's not even McNamara. They went over the Sandful.
We've got him, but we haven't got him.
What's his name?
Tahi Brain. Sorry, it just came to me.
Tahi Brain, of course it is. It was out of my brain.
Tahi Brain just entered back into my cerebellum, yes.
Yeah, so they lost 2 of their absolute gun juniors, which is always going to happen. They were always going to move on. And I think there was just that, new coach, loss of Danny, a couple of juniors go away, and they haven't just got it together. But the pieces are there. They are an absolute talent building machine. And we know that next wave of juniors that step up will be the next Tahi Brains, the next Max Kings. And they'll just step in and do that again. So, as they sort of step up, they've had a couple of really strong results in the under 17s the last couple of years. And as those guys mature and step up into that cup team and they start gelling as a team, sky's the limit. So, I think, it's been a pretty average 2025 for Cardiff. And I think they'd probably agree the same, and they'll rebuild over the off season and be back stronger again next year.
Yeah, they can put it in the bin and hopefully come back bigger and stronger. And we wish them all the best because they are a very good team. And the league's better when they're in one of the best supporter bases in the league. So great contributors for Maitland. Look, 3 wins for the year. Shane, first win was round 6 against the entrants Bateau Bay. They pushed Warners Bay in round 13 and almost knocked them off. And then they beat Newcastle City in the most bizarre circumstances the week after with the Lightning after quarter time. They were relatively competitive between then and the end of the year, but they just didn't have the cattle on the park for the most part. For me, Xavier and Zach Stewart were great. Harry Cornford, Riley Newstead, always, doing their bit. The Ellis boys. Ryland Hoffman, if he was injury-free and didn't spend so much time off the field, I reckon a few results might have gone their way. But they've unearthed Billy Ellis and Sonny Dixon this year, and there's a bit of promise there for Maitland next year.
Yeah, there sure is. When we did our pre-season, predictions, I had them tipped to finish bottom. I thought they may struggle to get a win this year. And I think round 1 they lost to the entrance Bateau Bay, and I thought, maybe that was it. They may not win again, or they may not win for the year, but they did. They sort of ground out a couple of wins. Obviously the result over Newcastle City, whilst it was only half a game. Hey, you've got to have your nose in front when the Lightning hits. So they did that, and good on them for that too. So I think they've actually had a relatively good year given what players they had to work with. And we spoke with the coach there back, whatever that was, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and he said they were building for 2026, and they finished off the year relatively strong. I think that probably that last game against Cardiff they wouldn't have been happy with because they had some pretty good results in the lead up to that. Watch this space. They need a couple more players in the off season. There's no doubting that they need to bolster their stocks, but they've got a good base to work with.
Absolutely, mate. Couldn't agree with you more. On the second to last game for the week, Killarney Vale 11-8 E874 defeated the Entrance Batter Bay 6-10-46. Lockie Henderson with 4 goals as the top goal scorer. Brandon Lloyd, who had a really good season, kicked 3. Logan Mulholland with 2. And for the Entrance Batter Bay, Michael Besley, Pat Murphy, and Kyle Robertson kicked 2 each for their 6. We summon up the season for both sides. Killarney Vale, well, they beat the Entrance Batter Bay in round 4 to go 1-2 on the year, and then they avenged the loss against Cardiff in round 1 from round 1 to go 2-2. They upset the Terrigal Avoca side in the round 6 replay, and they gave themselves a bit of chance to make the finals. But the story of the year for the Killarney Vale side is they lost to the teams that they needed to beat. Anyone above them, they just couldn't knock off, barring the Daniel Lloyd-inspired Terrigal Avoca win at Adelaide Street on the Bar TV that we had that round. Round 14 pretty much sealed their fate when Nelson Bay and Killarney Vale were a cancelled game. Shaq said it himself, though, after the replay round 6, they just needed to be better across the season to be more of a threat. Ryan Arthur's a star for mine, and he's one of the best players in the league. I know that the Elliot Davey medal night's in a couple of weeks with 7 wins. I'm not sure if 7 wins is going to be enough to win you an Elliot Davey medal, but I'll tell you what, in his 7 wins, he's got to be best on for about 4 of them. So he's going to give himself a go. Brandon Lloyd been outstanding with the service he got to get where he was in the goal kicking at the end of the year. And Jordan Kenobi down back's always consistent. And Tom Castelnovo's had a terrific year also for Killarney Vale. Plenty of great signs. Declan Newport came and played a few games late in the year, so showed a bit of capability up forward. Mifsud always pushes on for the side, and you've got Jai Bobie and countless other players who can play a role for them. It's just been one of those years for Killarney Vale, and we wish them all the best over the pre-season because a good Killarney Vale and a competitive Killarney Vale makes for a great AFL Hunter Central Coast.
Yeah, and listen, they obviously started the year with Luke Flack, who after I think it was 3 or 4 games went down to Melbourne to try his hand with the punting. You take him out of your halfback line and you lose a bit of that drive. And they've got plenty of other good players there that they will build a team around over the off season. I think they'll be a genuine top 4 contender next year. They've got enough talent that if they piece it all together and get a bit more consistency. For me, this year they were inconsistent. They had some really good results, and then they had some absolute shockers. They beat Terrigal, and that was a fantastic. Up there sort of approach. And it was Daniel Lloyd and Luke Flack did come back for that game, but they were only 2 players. The rest of the team lifted and played at a really high level. And then we saw them get absolutely trounced by over 100 points by City, a couple of weeks before that. And you're like, well, where's the good and where's the bad? And how do you get the distance between that to be a lot less? Because when they were good, they were real good. And when they were bad, they were pretty average. So they can get some consistency. Watch out next year. I think I've said that now just about for every club we've reviewed so far. So I'm going to top 4, but no, Killarney Vale is generally a top 4 chance next year.
Yep, and the Entrance Batter Bay are the ones that take the wooden spoon home, unfortunately, this season after showing such promise in winning round 1 on Bar TV with Lachlan Bennett's Inkster getting the bag and the bar razor to start the year. They only won 1 more game after that, and that was in round 11. So it was a big space between. They copped some really big losses across the year, which would have been concerning for the club, and they lost Mitch Eade about halfway, midway, about 60% of the way through the year with what happened at the club there. 2 wins for the year isn't enough, and it's definitely not good enough to compete at that level. Ben Gibbons, Pat Murphy, and Max Otiwi. Well, when you look at the AFL Hunter Central Coast stats, they got 9 best on grounds, or 9 in the best players out of the 17 rounds for the year. It's an outstanding effort by anyone's comparison. Liam Pass made a debut this year, and Harry Levi played well for the club. Just needed a few more contributors. The Besley boys always do a great job for them. It's just back to the drawing board for the Entrance Batter Bay, and we wish them all the best for season 2026 because they've got a fair bit of distance to climb before they can match it with the other sides in a comp.
Yeah, listen, 100%. I think they've got to have a good hard look at their footy program in the men's and see where that's travelling. We saw in their women's side they've dropped off at the end of the year, but that's through injuries, and I don't think it's the case with the men. I think it's just not really getting it together, not really having the right game plan, losing the coach mid-year, and then not having a style to back that up with. It worries me. If they're going to do anything next year, it's going to have to be based off some recruiting, getting a solid coach in there that has a game plan that's going to suit the players on the field. I have my concerns sitting here at the end of this season about what they can do next year.
And especially when they're looking to make a 10-side comp next year, AFL Hunter Central Coast, it means the entrance Batter Bay won't get that additional time to go back down to plate to re-energise either, which is going to be concerning as well. But we'll leave that for now. We wish all our sides that didn't make finals all the best. We've only got one game to review after this one, Shane, and it's City versus Terrigal Avoca. Terrigal Avoca were 3 points up at halftime, but they were 4 goals 10 to 5-1. And for mine, they should have been in front by 30, 40 points at halftime. But they said the old adage, bad kicking is bad football, rang true because Newcastle City kicked 4 goals 2 to 1 4 in the third quarter and 5 goals to 4 in the final term to win it by 17 points. 14 goals 387 to 9 goals 1670. For the winners, Ruben Miller kicked 3 goals. And he was real goal sneak because you didn't really notice a lot of him during the day, but he popped up and kicked 3 goals when they needed it. Mitch Crawford kicked an absolute brilliant goal from the boundary line and got Corey all excited to build City's momentum. Jordan Deere, Ethan Marr, and Weston Tate Turvey kicked 2 goals for the winners. For the Panthers side, who they have to go through the scenic route to win a grand final this year. Harrison Pitt came back from overseas and with the last kick of the season, got his 4th goal and won the Morris Goolagong medal. So congratulations to him. Chris Murray, Kurt Fleming, Caden McNamara and Jack Grimm-Lee were their best players. I really liked Weston Tate Turvey, Bailey Cullen, Archie Edwards, and Tutty and Lupton. I reckon Tutty and Lupton, the big recruits from Canberra, they played their best game of the season that we saw.
100% agree.
Match of the year, they were brilliant.
Yeah, they were, and they were in the sort of top 5 best on the ground for my mind. And yeah, we haven't seen them lift as in the other games we've covered of them this year. Obviously, we don't get to see them every week, but they were really impressive. City did what they needed to do, and they kicked straight, and that was the difference. The Panthers just let too many opportunities slip. They would have been miles ahead if they converted that. We saw it, at the start of the previous week against the Marlins. They went 0 goals 4, and they then did straighten up, and they won that game comfortably. But they couldn't do that against Newcastle. Obviously, the pressure a little bit too much, and that was a worry for them. What was, I suppose, a positive for Coach Chris Bishop would be the way they could score quickly, albeit some of those scores were behinds. They had a couple of attempts. I think you'd called the game there about halfway through that last quarter. You said, "That's it. This is done. Newcastle City got this," and then they went bang bang and hit a couple quick. And I think we all sort of took a breath and thought, "Mate, did we go too soon on that?"
The nerves were kicking in. That's for sure.
Yeah,
because that's what the Panthers do.
Oh, when they get a flow on, they can get a flow on. So listen, they won't come out of that game overly worried. Obviously, it means no double chance, but they'll just rebuild and get to it. And I think they know that they've got the goods to match it with City because they certainly do. There was nothing in between them outside of a bit of wayward kicking from the Panthers. City were great. Really love what they bought. I went over and had a listen to the 3/4 time address, and Mitch Crawford just said, "Boys, stick with a plan. If we play as a team and we stick with our plans, the results will go the way we wanted to." And that's what happened. Yeah, they were really well disciplined, I thought, because there's stars all over the place with Terrigal Avoca, and if you lose your structure, you can lose the game really easy. And to Newcastle's credit, they're a gun side. They held that structure and they got the win.
Yeah, look, one thing you said that sticks with me with Newcastle City is discipline. Mitch Crawford has that side very well drilled, very disciplined, and they stick to a structure, and they've trusted that structure all the way through. So congratulations to Newcastle City on getting the double chance there. We'll go back to the Women's Cup, Shane, and go through the ladder and the preview for the finals. So first place, and congratulations to Newcastle City on winning the minor premiership on 92%. Cardiff at 85%. They get the bye in the first round of the finals. And City will wait to play the winner of Terrigal Avoca versus the entrance Batter Bay in round 2 of the finals. Cardiff will play the winner of Killarney Vale versus Warners Bay, which is our feature match this weekend. Shane, at 110 at Adelaide Street, Killarney Vale, Warners Bay. Without sort of discounting the two games, and we've sort of said this off camera, look, I can't see a scenario where Killarney Vale don't win.
Listen, 100% agree. I think the bottom four, I should say, of the Women's Cup this year has been actually pretty even. And for a most improved, I would say the Bulldogs have been the most improved team.
Yep.
I really like what they've done this year. And Amy Pittman's, bringing on that next wave of talent, and the Farisha Khans and whatever of the world that are really starting to mature in and become good AFL players, but they're not at the same level as the Bombers, and they are going to struggle tomorrow. The Bombers, they've got, wherever you look on the park, they've got stars everywhere, and they'll have a quite comfortable win tomorrow over the Bulldogs. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, look, it is just the way it is. Yeah, that's pretty much sums it up. Beth Wood, Emerson Squires, the Murphys, Kessler, Brooke Turner, Megan Jenkins, Gracie Jurek, Taya White, who's been on fire in the second half of the year, Mia Wilson, who just kicks goals for fun, Jackie Green, who's been a really great sidekick for Mia, and now they have a they had a second option last year with Crystal Brown, who won the goal kicking, but now they've got a third and a fourth option with Taya White and Gracie Jurek up forward. Makes them dangerous up there. I guess my question on Killarney Vale is the defensive side of the game, but I don't think that's going to be tested this week. Holly Flack is a gun down back for them. I guess my question will be in the second week of the finals. Warners Bay should be proud. They've made the finals this season. Some really good players, Chloe Huggins, Farisha Khan, like you said, the Ingrams, the Wallaces, Maddie Miller's kicked some goals. Amy Pittman, we know how good she is. And Jazzy Wellings is just a superstar who could get a game in any cup team and be good in it. So, Well done to them for the year. I think their journey ends on Saturday at about 3:00 at Adelaide Street Oval, though, unfortunately for them. But they can hold their head up.
Yeah, they can. And listen, if they'd won last week against Singleton, they would have finished fourth. So they were one win or a couple of kicks away from finishing fourth. Really good year for them. It's going to finish tomorrow.
Yeah. Entrance Batter Bay versus Terrigal Avoca at Fagan Oval at 110 as well. This one's probably the match that could go either way, and I'd probably go with the Entrance Batter Bay if their players were healthier. I think they've been really hampered by an interrupted year with injuries. Scott Gray will have those girls as fired up as they can. For mine, look, Terrigal Avoca have got a fair bit more experience where it counts. Ketrin Donnelly and Sydney Boonstra. Sophie Singleton, if she gets a game, I just think they're just going to have the edge when it counts in a final and get themselves into week 2. That's just my tip for the game.
Yeah, if this game was held 8 weeks ago when you had a just about fully fit the Entrance Batter Bay, I'd be tipping the Entrance Batter Bay hands down. But with the injuries they've had, they've really limped towards the end of the year, and they haven't looked great. And I think they're going to struggle tomorrow, just purely off the back of the injuries. Different issue to what their men's team have had. Really love what the Entrance Batter Bay women's program has done, and they've got some great young stars there in Evie Walkerton and those sort of players who, once again, Evie's she's out injured and has been for the last 6 or 8 weeks as well. So when they're fit and firing, I really love what the Entrance Batter Bay bring to the table. I think tomorrow they're going to be a little bit underdone from a numbers on the field, and I think Terrigal Avoca, with the experience you've spoken about there, and your Donnellys and your Boonsters or whatever, they're going to be just that little bit too hard for them. I think the game a couple of weeks ago where they played this the same game at Passage Road, and the Panthers got up in that one, and I think they'll do so again tomorrow.
No, absolutely agreed. To the Men's Cup, the ladder stands like this. Warners Bay, 84% minor premiers for the first time since the 1990s. Newcastle City with 81, Terrigal Avoca 73, Nelson Bay 54, and our bottom 5 are Killarney Vale, Cardiff, Maitland. Bottom 4 are Killarney Vale, Cardiff, Maitland, and the Entrance Batter Bay. And as we said before, Harrison Pick has won the Morris Goolagong medal with 40 goals, one in front of Alec Walters with 39, and really close was Brandon Lloyd. I think he ended up on 37 or 38. So good seasons all round. But look, Harrison Pitt strikes again, and congratulations to him. With the Men's Cup finals, Warners Bay versus Newcastle City for a automatic passage through to the grand final at Fagan Oval at 3:30 p.m. If there was ever a chance for Warners Bay to make a grand final, the first for a very, very long time, Shane, it's Saturday. It's tomorrow. They're playing at home against Newcastle City. It's just going to be a fantastic game. It's either game we could have covered would be just a brilliant match tomorrow. Sum up your thoughts on Warners Bay and Newcastle City.
Oh, well, my main thought is I wanted to see this game 2 weeks ago, and the torrential rain and a thunderstorm did us out of that one. So we had to wait for a couple of weeks, but we have got that matchup. And yeah, as you said, this one is at home, though, for the Dogs this time. And I think that maybe changes the ledger just a little bit. My worry with the Dogs is their lack of football for the last 4 weeks. They've had the one game in the last 4 weeks. And so, yeah, you can train, you can do some simulated match drills, but it's not the same as playing. You come back in and you are playing one of the gun sides in the league. You know, last year's premiers, stacked full of stars. If you do not bring your A game in the first half, you are going to be in a lot of trouble. We saw that last year in a similar circumstance. Warners Bay were a little bit underdone in sort of similar circumstances, and they had that elimination final against Terrigal, and you know their first half was very average, and they let Terrigal Avoca get too far in front, and while they came home strong, they just couldn't match it. They cannot do that tomorrow against City. If they do that, there's no coming back from that, and they'll have to play the elimination next week against the winner of the Panthers and Marlins. So I think the big question mark for me is how are Warners Bay going to respond to the lack of football for the last few weeks? And if they're switched on and they can do it, they have stars all over the park as well. They'll go pretty. I think they actually match up really well against Newcastle City. I kind of actually almost think their matchup against City is better than their matchup against Terrigal. So I think they're every chance. It's just a matter of how quickly they start after a few weeks off.
Yeah, look, for mine, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I think Warners Bay can do it, and I'm in the same boat as you, mate. Their lack of football is the only query I have. They're good enough to beat Newcastle City. They've got the quality of player to beat Newcastle City. They've got the game plan to beat Newcastle City, and they're at home. They've got all the formula there. They've played 2 games in about 7 or 8 weeks. It's my only question mark, and for that reason, I'm going to pick City to make their 16th grand final in the Black Diamond Cup in the AFL Hunter Central Coast BDAFL era. They'll win it by the barest of margins, but it won't be lights out for Warners Bay. Warners Bay, Shane, have not made a Black Diamond AFL or AFL Hunter Central Coast A-grade grand final. So if they win this game tomorrow, it'll be their first ever BDAFL AFL HCC grand final. It'll be a marvellous achievement for Nathan Harkness. And I really just wish both sides all the best. As I said, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I love all the sides. I love all the teams and how they go about it. They're great representatives for the league. Newcastle City, they're just a juggernaut that keeps on rolling. Mitch Crawford's got them in the right place at the right time. I think I said it about 5 weeks ago. You don't peak 5 or 6 weeks out. You peak in the right times. City and Terrigal do that well. City are peaking at the right time now. Warners Bay for mine, they just haven't had the preparation. They haven't had the flow that Nathan Harkness needs and wants. I know he's told us during, our chats that they trained on the Saturday or they've worked on the Saturday, they've done the extra. Is the extra enough when you haven't had the match hardness? And I know you've said it. I'm only just repeating what you've said in a different way. For mine, it's Newcastle City. It's going to be by less than 2 goals. Warners Bay will push them all the way. If they win, it won't shock me, but I just see Newcastle City having the match fitness to do it.
Yeah, you're dead right. It won't shock you either team winning. They are both absolute deserved 1 and 2 on the ladder. Yeah, they've been consistent all year round. I'm going to tip against you. I'm going with the Dogs for this one. I really like how Mark Dignam's built himself up throughout the course of the year. I thought he was a little bit, below what we saw of him last year in the first round, coming off those injuries in the off season. He's got better as the year goes on, and when he gets better, he kind of, I think I said it before, the last game they actually did play, which is going back a few weeks ago now. He sort of he throws them on his shoulder and said, come on, boys, come with me.
Yep.
We're going to do something here. And he did that back a few weeks ago, kicked a few. I actually thought he might have been a bit of a smoky for the Goolagong trophy, but once again, they've been rained out, so he's had no chance to get a bag of goals there. I think, he can get the team behind him. They've got the firepower, with the Munzers and the Collins and that sort of stuff. Lauritsen down back. They've got stars all over the field. I'm going to tip the Bulldogs by 1 to 2 goals.
Yeah, I love watching Tommy Gardner play. Church is fantastic. Big dig. Well, mate, I hope you carry him to victory tomorrow. But I just find the match hardness of Newcastle City just a little bit too much this week. Might not be in 2 weeks. Terrigal Avoca versus Nelson Bay is our match, though, Shane, on elimination final. For the loser, it's Mad Monday. For the winner, it's a date against either Warners Bay or Newcastle City next week at Pasterfield Oval in the preliminary final. 3:30 the match. Bar TV Sports, the channel to be with Corey, Shane and myself. Look, it's going to be a challenge for Nelson Bay. They've got a good lineup. They've been game all season since they've come up from the plate competition. Wonderful talents in Billy Barton, the Grants, the Blythe boys. Jason Carey's played a role. Wade Blackburn's an absolute out-and-out star. Jaden Reimer could be one of the Smokies of the year to win the Elliot Davey medal because he always polls votes. Hudson Roche. They could have had Nicholas Ellis-Brady for more time, but I think he was a bit quite injured during the year. Mitch Hall's a great player as well up forward, but when you read some of these names of the Terrigal Avoca Panthers, you see why Terrigal Avoca are year-on-year perennially finalists and perennially grand finalists, except for last year. Harrison Pitt, Caden McNamara, Mackenzie Leecroft's one of the best backmen in the comp. Cooper Mackay had a great game last week. Ethan Williams, Alec Walters was quiet last week, but it's been good all year. Noah Cookman's a great little goal sneak. Toby Burns is really great on the wing. Brandon Thomas has been good up forward. Hazelwood plays a great role. Nick Good is a wonderful acquisition. Tristan Carter, Scott Birkinshaw, wonderful at the back. And then they've got Mitchell Price, who's an in tomorrow. He's a man, Mountain Mitch, and he's there to do a job for the Panthers. He's qualified at the right time. Chris Bishop always has his troops firing when the whips are cracking, and I can't see anything other than a Terrigal Avoca win. For mine, it'll be 6 goals plus. The Panthers are a very strong lineup, and they will feature at the back end of the season. Prelim final, my goodness. The way I've tipped it, Terrigal Avoca and Warners Bay, what a mouth-watering prelim if that happens.
Well, I happen to think maybe you've gone a little bit too soon on setting up that prelim. Listen, we saw...
Based on my tip.
we saw the Panthers host the Marlins 2 weeks ago in the broadcast match on Bar TV, and it was 100+ points. So there's no getting away from that. That was 2 weeks ago. Absolute gun side, and we've seen how quickly they can score. The Panthers, they can really lay it on you and kick goals in a quick fashion, and they're pretty miserly in the back lines as well. No Grim and Lee tomorrow for the Panthers, which is one of their engine room captain who absolutely leads from the front. He is he's a true leader. They'll miss him. No Miller in the ruck. Once again, he's another one of their engine room that's out as well. So I think there is a glimmer of hope for the Marlins. For my mind, if you cast your mind back to 2017, Ash, the Marlins were in a similar situation. They had a semi-final against City, and they'd been done heavily a couple of weeks before that game, and they actually got up and beat the they beat the Blues on that occasion. So I know the boys spoke about that in their chat with Chop on Wednesday night, and I think they'll be looking to reinforce that message. Wade Blackburn is an absolute gun, a fantastic coach and an absolute true leader. he loves the Bombers colours. He's playing on a Bombers home ground. He's got the big Bomber up on the wall there. He's going to feel like he's back winning premierships like he did last year. So I think he's going to lead for the front. Marlins haven't lost at Adelaide Street in the last 5 years, so they play Adelaide Street well. We saw Terrigal Avoca lose there against Killarney Vale only a few weeks ago.
Wow, how's the stats? I love this.
I am tipping the Marlins to win by around 2 goals. I'm tipping Mitch Hall to kick a bag.
Wow.
And I'm tipping Hudson Roche to be your best on ground. He's going to have an absolute game and a half tomorrow is my call. So that is it for my tip. I'm going with the Marlins. So there you go. We might have different preliminary finals if my teams get up versus your teams.
Wow, my goodness gracious me. I don't know. We get about 100 viewers on this thing. We might have got double that after that tip. That is incredible.
Well, you can cut that out on socials and absolutely cane me if it doesn't go that way. But there you go. That's my call.
To beat Terrigal Avoca. That is unbelievable, mate. I don't know. But if it gets up, you're a genius. That's all I'll say to you.
Well, mate, I'm president of the Marlins fan club, I think. So I've got to tip the Marlins.
Yeah, but I really enjoy watching Nelson Bay play, and I really admire what they've done this year. I know.
Yep.
Corey and I have had differing opinions on the rise up to plate and from plate this season. I think it takes more courage to come out of plate to go into cup and test yourself than it would have been to stay in plate and probably win the comp. I think what Wade Blackburn, Sean McGrath, and the Nelson Bay boys have done is nothing short of admirable. Congratulations to them for making the finals. I think it's a magnificent achievement. I just hope they keep it going from there. It's going to be a great men's cup finals. Only place you can see it's on Bar TV Sports, 3:30 for the men's, 1:10 for the women's. Just going to touch on the other 2 finals we've got tomorrow, Shane. Tomorrow, Singleton versus Warners Bay in the elimination final at Faying at 11. And the broadcast game for us is Wyong Lakes versus Lake Macquarie at 11 a.m. at Adelaide Street. Newcastle City undefeated, first minor premiers of the plate. Terrigal Avoca 14-1 in second place. They're going to have a week off and have a rest. Wyong third, Singleton fourth with a great run towards the end of the year. Warners Bay fifth and Lake Macquarie sixth. Congratulations to Singleton's Jed Ellis Clough for winning the goal-kicking medal with 62 goals. He kicked 7 bags of fire. He kicked 7 bags for the year, including 5 in a row in rounds 8, 9, 10, and 12 in the replay in round 7. I believe it's 2 9s, 2 6s, and a 7 from memory.
Wow.
So that's a magnificent achievement for Jed Ellis Clough. He's a premiership player from AFL Sydney's Platinum division in the old second division there, captain coach for the Camden Cats. So if he fires up, Singleton could do anything. But our feature game tomorrow is Wyong versus Lake Macquarie. It's going to be a pretty good contest. Look, I think Wyong should win comfortably based on ladder positions, based on the season results during the year. They've got some excellent players in Carter Jones, Kai McIntosh Walsh, Lee Moore, their skipper. Braden Toss, who's probably the best player, one of the best individual players in that league, won a best of fairest medal before. They've got some good players across the field. Special mention to Logan Kubica, who's their organizer of all things special events, and he keeps getting me in for MC work for Wyong, so I've got to mention him as well. Good luck to the Wyong boys tomorrow. Lake Macquarie, Tyler Chisholm's a wonderful coach. James Siedel's an excellent captain. They've got players like Riley Jennison, Oliver Bunny, and Tyler Ford. And Tyler Ford's played first-grade footy for Warners Bay before, so he knows the score. They're well coached. I believe it's Aaron Ford's their coach, one of the coaches with Tyler Chisholm. They're going to be there or thereabouts tomorrow. I just think they're going to fall short. Congratulations to both sides of making the finals, but that'll be a big game there at 11 a.m. for the men's Black Diamond play. To be our first coverage of the season.
I think it's going to be Wyong in the game that we're covering, and I think Singleton in the other game. For my mind, they're not in the finals, but I would just like to give a shout out to the Muswellbrook Cats. They had their Red Nose Charity Day last weekend, I think it was. They raised $7,800 for Red Nose Day. So absolutely fantastic work, Muswellbrook Cats. You know, they obviously they struggle to get players given their locations, but they rock up and they have a good time and they've raised some money. And absolutely huge shout out to the Cats.
Outstanding, Muswellbrook, and I hope you're back in season 2026 bigger and better than ever, as all the sides were. Port Power had their first season in Black Diamond men's played as well, so that's awesome for the comp. And I'm hearing there are a couple more sides to come into the league next year, which is just terrific. So hopefully the league's just getting bigger and better than ever under Emily Brown's tutelage and carriage on the board as well. So look forward to that. The women's plates kicks off at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Shane, I've got to leave home at about 7 o'clock to get there on time.
You and me both, Sash.
Mate, it's going to be some sort of drive. Nelson Bay, who finished third with a 12-3, 80% record, real young side, and I wouldn't back against them for the premiership in the women's plate this year. They take on Lake Macquarie with a 9-6 record in the elimination final at Fagan Oval, 9 a.m. Based on results, Nelson Bay should win. And Cardiff take on Killarney Vale at Adelaide Street at 9 a.m. tomorrow in the other elimination final. 13-3, Cardiff 76%. Killarney Vale 10-7, 58%. Newcastle City win the minor premiership in the Black Diamond women's plate. So that gives them 3 minor premierships out of 4 for City. Yeah. I mean, they're just a wonderful club. Congratulations to City. Maitland shot themselves in the foot, though. 85.71 is the City percentage. Maitland were 14 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw against 10th place, the entrance Bateau Bay, and they've gone down on match ratio by 0.42%, 85.29. So if they just had kicked another point against the entrance Bateau Bay, they would have won the minor premiership. Fantastic result for Maitland in their first season after struggling in the cup for the last couple of years. Scott Ellis, the coach at Maitland's, really got them back involved. Grant Godfrey for Newcastle City, Brett Godfrey's brother and former Black Diamond AFL umpire of the year and AFL Sydney first grade grand final umpire of note. Grant Godfrey is the coach of the women's plate side for City. Leading goal kicker for the year was Billy Davies with 39 goals. She finished third last year behind Sarah Ball of Wyong and Beck Ives of Wyong. Those 2 players aren't playing this year, so Billy Davies takes over the goal kicking, so congratulations to her. She kicked 33 goals last year. 39 is a bit more of an improvement, so good for her. We've got the Cardiff versus Killarney Vale game. Cardiff have got a really handy lineup, Shane. Olivia Twyford, Isabella Cochon, Anastasia Bacchus, who played games in first grade this year, Jess Bannerman, Tamika Chambers, Shay New. There's some regular names from that first grade side from years gone by. And also adding Sienna Harley, who's played under 17s regional rep for Port Stephens, played in a few for Singleton a couple of years ago in the under 17. She's a class act, Sienna, and a real hard nut. So I'm looking forward to seeing her play. I haven't seen her play for a couple of years. I feel like they're going to be a little bit too strong against Killarney Vale, but when you name some of their players, Shane, there's real talent there too. Emily Flack, Eliza Johnson, Ashley Page, Holly Bryson, Georgia Butler. Like, there's some players in both sides that could play first grade. So it's going to be a pretty good game tomorrow, I reckon, in the plate at 9 a.m.
I tend to agree. And, and whilst Carter finished higher up the ladder, Killarney Vale have the home ground advantage just due to where the finals are being played. So I think it's almost flip of the coin on that one. I think in your other game, Nelson Bay would be deserved favourites down at Fagan. And listen, I'm probably going to take Cardiff in this one, just that their women, both these clubs' women's programs are so strong. I might just go Cardiff just because maybe they've got just a little bit more depth, but it's flip of a coin for me.
Yep, absolutely, mate. So to round off the coverage, we're pretty much done, Shane. To round it off, Bar TV's coverage tomorrow, 9 a.m. Cardiff, Killarney Vale in the women's plate. 11 a.m. Wyong versus Lake Macquarie in the men's plate elimination final. Cup women's elimination final. Terrigal Killarney Vale versus Warners Bay at 1:10, and the main game at Adelaide Street at 3:30 live and exclusive from Bar TV Sports. Shane Darwin, Corey Hopper, and myself will host Terrigal Avoca versus Nelson Bay. Can Nelson Bay pull off one of the upsets of the year as predicted by Shane Darwin? Or will Terrigal Avoca make another preliminary final? Join us tomorrow from 9 a.m. for all the coverage. Shane, thanks for being with us, mate. Corey Hopper, hope you're okay, and we'll see you in the morning.
Hold on, I've got just two last things to say before we do wrap up. Just quickly, just be aware tomorrow. It's different timings for quarters. It's not
Yes.
just the usual flat time. There will be time on there. So some of the games do run a little bit longer than they usually do. So if you are tuning into the broadcast, just be aware of that. They may be a slightly delayed start time to the usual sort of 2-hour round we have. And the other thing I did want to do is give a shout out to Zali Mertens, who kind of made her unofficial AFLW debut. She was an emergency, but one of the other field umpires went down in the fourth quarter, and so she got out there for an AFLW game on the weekend. Obviously, we love everything she does with the yellow shirt on, and she'll be out there as a name starter pretty bloody soon. So well done, Zali. Fantastic effort.
Yeah, congratulations, Zali. I've known her for such a long time, and she has overcome so much adversity to get to where she is. I know a lot about her backstory. Congratulations, Ali. We're very proud of you. Look, one quarter is better than the no quarters that we've run in AFLW. We are super proud of you here at the AFL Hunter Central Coast. But for now, from Shane, hope Corey's okay. Best wishes to you, Andy Baldwin, tomorrow, another member of the team. And Oliver Croft is umpiring his first grade final tomorrow. Congratulations to you, mate. I'm Ashley Borg. We'll see you at the footy tomorrow at Adelaide Street. Have a great evening, everybody.